Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful for You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The frantic, high-pitched plea, "Mom, I need you, please save me," that erupted from her phone wasn't just a sentence, it was a seismic shockwave that instantly obliterated the carefully constructed facade of control Steffy Forrester had spent years cementing around her life. The voice on the other end of the line, usually a source of either immense pride or mild exasperation, was now stripped bare, a raw, primal instrument of terror that bypassed all rational thought and plunged directly into the most ancient, protective part of her soul. In that single, horrifying moment, the plush, sound-dampening carpets of the Forrester Creations CEO office, the gleaming mahogany of her desk, the multi-million-dollar fashion sketches pinned to the boards, all of it dissolved into meaningless props, a gilded cage that suddenly felt a continent away from where she desperately needed to be. The air, once scented with the subtle aroma of expensive perfume and ambition, now tasted of metallic fear, and the panoramic view of Los Angeles through the floor-to-ceiling windows, a view that usually symbolized her dominion over this glittering kingdom, now seemed like a taunting panorama of endless, unknowable threats hiding behind every sun-drenched boulevard and anonymous glass tower. Her own heart, a steady drumbeat that had weathered corporate coups, romantic betrayals, and public scandals, now hammered against her ribs like a trapped, frantic bird, its rhythm syncing with the panicked gasps she could hear through the receiver, each one a tiny dagger twisting in the sacred space of her motherhood. This was a different kind of crisis than the boardroom battle she was accustomed to. This wasn't about stock percentages or control of a fashion empire. This was a fundamental, biological alarm screaming that her child, her flesh and blood, was in mortal, immediate danger, and the sheer, helpless distance between them was a physical agony, a chasm of miles and minutes that felt like an uncrossable ocean. Her mind, usually a well-oiled machine capable of strategizing 5 moves ahead of any opponent, became a chaotic slideshow of worst-case scenarios, each more vivid and terrifying than the last. A car crumpled like paper against a concrete abutment, the menacing leer of a stranger emerging from shadows, a medical emergency striking silently and without warning, the ghost of Sheila Carter's maniacal smile flashing in her mind's eye, a reminder that true evil was never fully vanquished, only waiting. The polished screen of her smartphone, now slick with the cold sweat of her palm, felt like the only fragile tether to a reality that was spiraling into a nightmare. And the silence that followed the initial scream was somehow more deafening and terrifying than the plea itself, a void filled with unspoken horrors, a connection that felt terrifyingly fragile, as if it could be severed by a cruel hand or a dying battery at any second, leaving her in an informational vacuum more torturous than any truth. Every maternal instinct, honed over years of lullabies, skinned knees, and fierce, protective hugs, roared to the surface with a ferocity that dwarfed any boardroom hostility, a visceral need to physically place herself between her child and whatever demon they were facing, to absorb the blow, to trade her own safety, her own life, without a moment's hesitation. The polished, powerful executive was gone, replaced by a primal force of nature, a mother lion ready to tear the world apart with her bare hands to reach her cub, her breath catching in her throat, her body coiled with an adrenaline-fueled tension that made the very air in the room feel thick and heavy, charged with the electric potential of violent, decisive action. The spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful hinted at a life-altering event, and this was it, not just a plot point, but the core of Steffy's character being stripped down to its most essential element, not a CEO, not a wife, not a rival, but a mother, whose entire universe had just contracted to the single, desperate point of that voice crying out in the dark, a voice that held the power to shatter her world or give her the ultimate reason to fight, a voice that was now silent, leaving only the echo of its terror and the deafening, urgent question hanging in the air: where are you, and what in God's name is happening to you? This phone call was the inciting incident, the catalyst that would send ripples through every relationship in Los Angeles, pulling Ridge and Taylor back into her orbit, testing her marriage to Finn in the most profound way imaginable, and forcing alliances with former enemies, all while she navigated this terrifying, uncharted territory where the only thing that mattered was the race against a clock she couldn't see, to a location she didn't know, to face a threat she couldn't yet name, all propelled forward by the echoing, soul-shattering mantra that would now define her every waking moment: Mom, I need you, please save me. The echo of that desperate, shattered plea, Mom, I need you, please save me, did not fade. It metastasized, transforming from a sound into a physical entity that coiled around Steffy's spine, ice-cold and paralyzing, yet simultaneously burning with a white-hot urgency that made her fingers tremble so violently she nearly fumbled the phone, the very instrument of this nightmare now feeling like a live wire in her hand. Her mind, a fortress usually teeming with strategic calculations for collections and market shares, was now a desolate, windswept plain where only the raw data of terror remained. The exact pitch of the voice, a half-octave higher than normal, stripped of all bravado and teenage affectation, revealing the core of the child she still saw when she looked at her son, a vulnerability she hadn't witnessed since the feverish nights of his infancy. She tried to form a word, any word. Where? What's happening? I'm here. But her vocal cords, constricted by a vice of pure panic, produced only a strangled, guttural gasp, a pathetic response to the symphony of fear playing out through the tiny speaker. The world outside the windows, the relentless, buzzing hive of Los Angeles, seemed to mock her. Every car on the freeway, every pedestrian on the street, was a potential threat or a useless bystander in the drama unfolding in her ear, a drama where she was both the pivotal character and utterly, helplessly sidelined. She could hear distorted background noises, a muffled thud, the faint, dissonant blare of a distant horn, the rustle of frantic movement, each one a cryptic clue in a puzzle she was being forced to solve blindfolded, a puzzle with life or death stakes. Her thoughts, unbidden and treacherous, raced to Finn, her husband, the steady, compassionate rock in her life. Was he there? Was he also in danger? The thought of a threat that could incapacitate both her resilient son and his doctor father was a new layer of dread, a cataclysm too vast to comprehend, suggesting an orchestrated malice, a calculated attack far beyond a simple accident. This felt personal, targeted, and the ghost of Sheila Carter, a specter they all believed was finally locked away, seemed to cackle in the recesses of her mind, her brand of obsessive, violent insanity a template for the kind of horror that could provoke such a raw, unadulterated scream for salvation. Then, the line went dead. Not the gentle click of a call ended, but the sudden, hollow, absolute silence of a connection severed, forcibly, or by a dying battery, or by something worse. The abrupt quiet was a physical blow, a vacuum that sucked all the air from the room, leaving Steffy dizzy, disoriented, clutching the silent phone to her ear as if her sheer will could reforge the broken link. Hello? Hello, she finally screamed into the void, her voice echoing in the opulent, empty office, a sound of pure, undiluted maternal anguish. The silence that answered was more terrifying than the scream. It was a canvas upon which her imagination painted masterpieces of horror, a struggle, a fall, a final, desperate gasp. Her body moved before her mind could catch up, propelled by an instinct older than time itself. She was on her feet, her chair slamming back against the credenza with a crack that sounded like a gunshot in the tense silence, her designer heels clicking a frantic, staccato rhythm on the hardwood floor as she paced, a caged animal searching for a way out. The spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful promised a storyline that would change everything, and in this moment, Steffy understood the profound, terrifying truth of that statement. This was the event that would cleave her life into a stark before and after. Every decision from this point forward would be measured against this single, defining moment. Her hand, shaking uncontrollably, scrolled through her contacts, her thumb hovering over Finn's name, then Ridge's, then Taylor's, a triangulation of the people who represented safety, power, and unconditional love. But who to call first? Wasting a single second felt like a betrayal. She punched Finn's number, her breath held, listening to the interminable rings, each one a lifetime of agony. Pick up, pick up, pick up, she chanted under her breath, a desperate prayer to the uncaring gods of technology and fate. Voicemail. His calm, professional greeting, "You've reached Dr. John Finnegan, please leave a message," was a cruel joke, a recording from a universe where logic and order still prevailed. She disconnected without a word, the panic now curdling into a cold, sharp certainty that something was terribly, terribly wrong with him, too. Her next call was to her mother, Taylor Hayes. A mother would understand, a mother would feel this visceral terror echoing across the city. The phone rang once, twice, and then Taylor's voice, calm and concerned, "Steffy, honey? What is it?" And the dam broke. The words tumbled out in a chaotic, tear-choked torrent. "Mom, he called, he was screaming, he said he needed me, to save him, and then it went dead, and Finn's not answering, and I don't know where they are, I don't know what to do." The professional, composed CEO was gone, replaced by a terrified daughter seeking guidance from her own mother. The cyclical nature of maternal protection laid bare in this chain of panic. She could hear the immediate shift in Taylor's demeanor, the therapist's calm evaporating, replaced by the soldier's resolve. "I'm on my way to you right now, Steffy. Do not move. I'm calling Ridge. We will find them." The line went dead again, but this time it was a silence of purpose, not of abandonment. Alone again in the sudden quiet, the directive "do not move" felt like an impossible sentence. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to act, to run into the streets, to drive aimlessly, to do something. She stared at her phone, a useless brick of glass and metal, willing it to ring, to light up with a location pin, a text, anything. She opened the tracking app she and Finn used for the family, her heart sinking as she saw the last updated location for her son was his school, over an hour ago. For Finn, it was the hospital, also outdated. Useless. The walls of her office, once a symbol of her power and legacy, now felt like a gilded prison, the Forrester logo on the wall staring down at her, a reminder of a dynasty that meant absolutely nothing if she lost her family. The minutes stretched into an eternity, each tick of the clock on the wall a hammer blow to her sanity. She replayed the call in her mind, again and again, searching for a clue she had missed, a specific background echo, a word muttered under the breath, the faint sound of music or a specific type of traffic. Nothing. Just the scream. That soul-shattering, definitive scream that had now become the new axis on which her world spun. This was no longer about business, rivalries, or fashion. This was the raw, unvarnished core of human existence, the terror of loss, the ferocity of love, and the desperate, primal prayer for a miracle, all contained within a few seconds of a phone call that had already begun to rewrite the future of the Forrester, Finnegan, and Spencer families in Los Angeles forever. The spoilers were right, nothing would ever be the same again. The silence after Taylor's call was a different kind of torture. It was a vacuum, but one now charged with the frantic energy of a rescue mission being mobilized. Steffy's pacing became a frantic orbit around her desk, her mind no longer a blank slate of terror but a war room assembling a chaotic, fractured battle plan. The initial, paralyzing shock had been metabolized into a corrosive, buzzing adrenaline that made her skin feel too tight and her vision sharpened to an almost painful degree. She could see the individual fibers in the wool of her office rug, the faint dust motes dancing in a sliver of afternoon sun that now felt obscenely cheerful. Every detail of her environment was thrown into hyperrealistic, cruel relief. She snatched her purse, her fingers fumbling with the clasp, dumping the contents onto her desk. Lipstick, a wallet, a set of keys, mundane objects from a life that felt like it belonged to someone else. She needed her car keys. Where were her keys? Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat counting down the seconds she was wasting. They were in her hand. They had been in her hand the entire time, her knuckles white from the force of her grip. The buzz of her office intercom made her jump, a sharp, invasive sound in the tense quiet. "Miss Forrester, your 3:30 with the textile suppliers is here." Ivy's voice, her assistant's, was calm, professional, utterly detached from the cataclysm happening 3 feet away from her. For a split second, Steffy was thrust back into that other world, the world of swatches and supply chains. The dissonance was nauseating. She stabbed the intercom button, her voice a ragged, unfamiliar rasp. "Cancel it. Cancel everything. No more interruptions. None." She didn't wait for a response. The authority in her tone, the raw command, was a vestige of her CEO self, weaponized now for a far more critical purpose. She had to get out of this room. Taylor had said to wait, but she couldn't. Waiting was a form of slow suffocation. She would drive to the hospital, to the school, to their usual routes home, anywhere but this gilded cage. Just as her hand touched the cold brass of the office door handle, her phone vibrated, not with a ring, but with the specific, pulsing rhythm she had assigned to her father. Ridge. The sound was an anchor in the storm. She swiped to answer, bringing the phone to her ear. Dad? The word was a choked sob, all her composure shattering at the sound of his potential presence. Steffy. Taylor told me. I'm in the car. I'm 2 minutes away. His voice was a low, steady rumble, the sound of a mountain on the move. It wasn't calm, but it was solid, filled with a ferocious, focused intensity that she recognized from every corporate battle, every family crisis they had ever faced. It was the sound of a man ready to tear down walls. Did you hear anything else? Anything at all? A voice, a siren, a location name. Think, honey. No, nothing, Dad. Just, the scream. And then a thud, like something fell. Or someone. The image of a body collapsing, forced to the ground, flashed behind her eyes, and she squeezed them shut, as if to block it out. It was so fast. And then dead air. And Finn, his phone goes straight to voicemail. That's not like him, Dad. Ever. She was babbling, the facts tumbling out, each one a piece of evidence pointing toward an abyss. Okay. Listen to me. I'm pulling into the executive lot now. Do not get in your car. We do this together. We will find them. The line went dead. The command was absolute. Ridge Forrester was taking control. A part of her, the independent, fierce part, might have chafed at the order under any other circumstance, but now it was the only thing holding her together. She yanked the door open, stumbling out into the serene, air-conditioned hallway of the Forrester Creations executive suite. The quiet hum of central air, the soft lighting, the tasteful artwork, it was all a lie. A beautiful, expensive lie. She half ran, half staggered toward the elevator bank, jamming the down button repeatedly, as if her urgency could override the mechanics of the machine. The elevator doors slid open with a soft, maddeningly calm ding. She rushed in, leaning against the mirrored wall, her reflection a horrifying sight. Her face was pale, her expertly applied makeup now highlighting the tracks of tears she hadn't even felt falling. Her eyes were wide, wild with a feral fear. The descent felt interminable, each floor number lighting up with agonizing slowness. When the doors finally opened to the underground parking garage, the cool, slightly oily air was a shock. And there he was. Ridge's black luxury sedan screeched to a halt just outside the elevator bay, the driver's side door already swinging open. He didn't speak. His face was a granite mask of grim determination, his eyes scanning her, taking in her disheveled state in a single, comprehensive glance. He opened the passenger door for her, a gesture of old-world chivalry that felt both absurd and profoundly necessary in this new world of chaos. She slid into the leather seat, the familiar scent of his cologne, a mix of sandalwood and something uniquely Ridge, offering a fleeting, painful memory of safety. Where do we start? She whispered, her voice thin and broken. Ridge put the car in drive, his movements precise and forceful. We start by making noise. The kind of noise that gets answers. He handed her his phone, already dialing. It's Lieutenant Baker. Put him on speaker. As the phone rang, Ridge sped through the garage, the tires squealing as he took the ramp up into the blinding LA sunlight. The world outside was continuing, oblivious. Steffy looked at her father's profile, the set of his jaw, the white-knuckled grip on the steering wheel. He was a force of nature, and he was unleashed. The spoilers had promised a storm, but they hadn't captured the visceral, gut-wrenching reality of being in the eye of it, of being propelled forward by a love so fierce it felt like violence, with only the haunting, silent echo of a child's cry for help as a compass pointing into the deepening dark. The search had begun, and Steffy knew, with a certainty that chilled her to the bone, that nothing, not reputation, not the law, not any person who stood in their way, would stop the Forresters from finding their own. The connection to Lieutenant Baker was a fragile thread to the world of order, a world that felt galaxies away. The phone rang once, twice, and then the professional, slightly weary voice of the LAPD veteran crackled through the car speakers. "Baker.